February 11th. Guess where I am? To give you a clue, I'm at the Walmart Auto Center getting the tires changed. So today we're going to be looking at Luke. We're in 12 now, right? Yeah, Luke 12. And it's going to be starting in 35 and going to 48. So, be dressed for service and keep your lamps burning as though you were waiting for your master to return from the feast. Then you will be ready to open the door and let him in the moment he arrives and knocks. The servants who are ready and waiting for his return will be rewarded. I tell you the truth, he himself will seat them, put on an apron, and serve them as they sit and eat. Sorry, trying not to be too obnoxious to the people coming by. He may come in the middle of the night or just before dawn, but whenever he comes, he will reward the servants who are ready. Understand this. If a homeowner knew exactly when a burglar was coming, he would not permit his house to be broken into. You also must be ready all the time. The Son of Man will come when least expected. Peter said, Lord, is that illustration just for us or for everyone? And the Lord replied, a faithful and sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. I tell you the truth. The master will put that servant in charge of all he owns. But what if the servant thinks, my master won't be back for a while, and he begins beating the other servants, partying and getting drunk? The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will cut the servant into pieces and banish him with the unfaithful. And a servant who knows what the master wants, but isn't prepared and doesn't carry out those instructions, will be severely punished. But someone who does not know and then does something wrong will be punished only lightly. When someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much, even more will be required. Hello. So I just dropped Anna off at the high school. She had her braces done this morning, tightened, new brackets, all that stuff. Not new brackets, new wires. So had a cool conversation with her, though. I had her read this verse that I've been confused about a little bit, most especially that part about when the disciples ask him, does this apply to just us, or does this apply to everyone? And he says, and then instead of answering the question, of course, he has a story, and he says, anyways, you heard the verse. So what Anna said, and I think she's right. In fact, I was kind of thinking this, but I didn't have the thought strong enough to be a full thought. So anyways, very concurrent with what I was trying to think. If that makes sense. She said that the disciples, what Jesus was saying to the disciples is, it applies to you more than to other people. So it applies to everyone, but to you the most. So it's kind of a continuum. It's not like, is this yes or no? It's more of an element of how much. So, thank you, Anna. Love you. Okay, finish the oil change. Going to the gynecologist. What a fun day I have. The oil change, gynecologist, the orthodontist. Woohoo! No, I'm actually really having an awesome day with God. So I'm going to try to do this while driving. I hope that's safe. I hope that's not illegal, but I'm not going to be touching the phone. I've got it in the stand. I've already hit go and I haven't started driving yet. Go meaning on the phone, record, not go accelerator on the car. About to do that. So I'm not even touching the phone. Hopefully, I think that's legit. I guess I'll have to touch it at the end to stop it. So here we go. Ready? I hope this also isn't incoherent. So back in Luke, we are back in Luke 12. Thank you to Anna for some help on the reflections earlier. Awesome. And we're going to dive in, and I'm just going to tell you that at first, well, and probably even still, oh, good grief, that's bright. At first, this didn't really settle that great with me. I mean, it didn't settle badly with me. I like this verse, but there's parts of it that are a little bit, I don't know, it's just not, okay, well, I'll just tell you what I'm thinking. I think what I'm thinking is about this story that the servant who is dressed for service and whose lamps are burning all night long until the master comes home, whether that be the middle of the night or just before dawn. I'm imagining me, okay? I'm imagining that I'm in the house. I'm kind of picturing myself by the entryway, dressed for service. My lamp is on. It's the middle of the night. Who knows when he's going to get home? And I'm tired. I want to be, sorry guys, I want to be in bed. I don't want to be standing here with my lamp for who knows how long. And so, you know, I like the verses that talk about the joy and the abundant life and those things, but I guess, you know, I don't know. I guess that's part of the point, is that that's what we want to be doing. So, okay, I'm going to get to that more in a little bit. But I like this verse for that reason. I like that it calls into account our selfishness. Okay, is everybody stopping? Okay, they're going to go. I get to go. Hang on. You know, are we living about ourselves and our comfort and our indulgence? And I think even about what we've already been talking about with, you know, back even with Mary and Martha, and with Jesus saying there's one thing worth concentrating on, and the rest is all details. So that includes sleep and comfort, right? Those aren't the one thing that are going to make life meaningful or real. So, okay, we're at a red light here. And then I think it's kind of interesting that when the master gets home, that he is going to wait on the servants. Like, that almost feels a little, I want to say even a little awkward. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that either. So, but okay, Jesus, I mean, I'd rather have that than being cut to pieces by far. I mean, I like the idea, don't get me wrong, it's just, wow, I don't know what, can't completely, you know, get that. So moving along, I really, I think this is interesting down towards a little later in the verse, where when Jesus is answering the question, he says, does he go, does the servant, basically when the master goes away, does the servant sort of start partying and getting drunk and abusing people? And I think of these things as like indulging yourself. Instead of taking care of other people and managing the other servants and feeding them, you're indulging yourself and you're hurting other people at your own expense. So again, this is the servant who doesn't really love the master. He's kind of faking it and just pretending to be good if he thinks the master's around and will see him. And that's not real. That's not the real love that Jesus wants from us. And that's not, he's not in the relationship with the master at all. And he's not a true servant. He's truly a servant of himself, is what he is. So, that's just some ramblings on that. And then I was thinking about the part about being cut up and banished. Like, that was pretty intense. And I wondered if that had something to do with the fact that, like, if you know God and if you love God, and then you instead serve yourself instead of Him, I don't know, does that mean you ever really loved Him? I'm not sure. But having known Him or known of Him and then losing Him, maybe that is just so much more painful than those who didn't know Him at all. That it's like a disintegration of the self to have known Him or known of Him and still chosen yourself. Literally, cutting to pieces would be not as bad as being pulled apart from God, the greatest good, the only good, the source of all and only good in all existence. So, and the other thing that struck me about this is it appears that there are levels of punishment. One of the things that troubles Lizzie a lot about the Bible is that, when it says Jesus is the only way, it kind of sounds like people who didn't know Him, never maybe were even exposed to Him, are going to get, as she would say, probably sent to hell. But the implication here is that if you didn't know Him and you do the wrong thing, that you will have a light punishment. I don't know what that means. God knows, and thank God that God knows, because I don't get it. But this is interesting. It's just interesting that there does seem to be levels. I really like the next part where it talks about being the person who is not prepared and doesn't carry out those instructions. Of course, to my mind, what this made me think of, preparation, and then I think of carrying out the instructions as obedience. So we'll say preparation and obedience. And I think of preparation as being very closely tied to spiritual practices and disciplines. I think that if we want to be able to carry out the instructions, we need to prepare ourselves to do that in the moments where we're not, it's not game on. It's the quiet moment. It's the thoughtful moment. It's the moment that assimilates. It's the prayer of recollection. My goodness, that's amazing for me. And then, finally, it's just the whole thought of to him who much is given, much is required, and the weight of that, and just thinking about God, like, I feel like God has given me so much, and I feel like He continues to give me so much more. And then I think about sharing spiritual practices, and I always wonder, I know I have so much room left to grow, and what if in my ignorance I do damage to someone else? I just pray, God, don't let that happen. Prevent me from hurting anyone in their spiritual practices, leading them in the wrong way, out of my own brokenness, ignorance, lack of being informed, how much more I have to learn and experience. And I just pray that whatever God gives me and entrusts me with, that I will use that completely to serve Him and love Him. And that's all we've got. Have a good one.